Imagine being told that the FBI once opened a safe belonging to Jeffrey Epstein, found disturbing material inside, and years later we still don't know what was really in it. That's not the plot of a thriller. That's a real sequence of events that Congress is now dragging back into the spotlight, and what came out in a tense exchange with Director Patel could change the way you see this entire scandal. For the first minute, I want you to hold one thought in your mind. When promises of transparency clash with hidden files and evasive answers, what's left is a dangerous gap between the public's right to know and the institution's willingness to tell. That's where this story begins.
Thank you, Director Patel, for being here today. The FBI searched Jeffrey Epstein's Manhattan residence, correct?
I believe that happened in 2018. I think there was 2 locations, sir.
It's 2019, and in that residence, the FBI found a safe, correct?
I don't have the catalog of evidence in front of me.
In that residence, the FBI found a safe, correct?
I'll accept your representation.
Okay. And in that safe, the FBI found topless and lewd photographs of girls, correct?
Again, sir, I'll accept your representation. I don't know.
Thank you. It was all over the media at the time. There's a New York Times article that says Jeffrey Epstein is indicted on sex charges as discovery of nude photos is disclosed, dated July 8th, 2019. And the Times reports a trove of lewd photographs of girls was discovered in a safe inside financier Jeffrey Epstein's Manhattan mansion. Author Michael Wolff has conducted numerous interviews of Jeffrey Epstein. I'm going to play for you a video clip of what Michael Wolff said Epstein told him was in the safe and what he showed the author was in this safe. So let's please play that clip now.
Elected. I was sitting talking to Epstein, and he said, "Wait a minute, I got to show you something." And then he went into his safe, and he came out with photographs. They were Polaroids, I think, and he kind of spread them out like playing cards, and it was Trump. I mean, I think there were a dozen of them, and it was Trump with girls of an uncertain age at Epstein's Palm Beach house, where all of the things that he would ultimately be accused of took place. And I remember very vividly 3 of them. There are 2 in which Trump is, the girls, topless girls, are sitting on Trump's lap. And then a 3rd in which he has a stain on the front of his pants, and the girls are kind of pointing at it, sort of bent over, laughing.
So, Director Patel, I'm going to ask you a very broad and general question. As you know, Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were friends. There are, of course, photos showing Donald Trump together with Epstein, correct?
I don't have the entirety of the photographs, but I think they've been photographed in public together.
All right. Are there any photos showing Donald Trump with girls of an uncertain age?
No,
How do you know that?
because that information would have been brought to light by multiple administrations and FBI investigators over the course of the last 20 years.
Well, you know what? That's just not true, because no one knew about the creepy birthday message that Donald Trump wrote to Jeffrey Epstein until the Wall Street Journal disclosed it, and then all of a sudden, the Epstein estate provides it to Congress.
Well,
So certainly, you weren't there at the search. You don't know what Epstein may or may not have done with those photographs even prior to the search. Maybe someone has it. Maybe the Epstein estate has it.
You raise a great point.
So I'm going to ask you, have you asked to talk to Michael Wolff?
You raise a great point. I haven't personally asked to talk to
Has the
Michael
FBI
Wolff,
asked?
but
you
the
to Michael Wolff?
FBI, I'll get back to you if the FBI specifically
So Michael Wolff
asked
has
ever.
about 100 hours of testimony of Jeffrey Epstein. Wouldn't it be good for the FBI to interview Michael Wolff?
I'm not saying they haven't, I just don't know.
Has FBI subpoenaed the tapes that Michael Wolff has conducted of Jeffrey Epstein?
I don't know.
All right, so if you could provide us an answer, that would be terrific. Well, let me ask you this question then. Have you looked at all the photos in Epstein files?
I have looked at all the information that the investigators who investigated this case have provided to run out credible leads.
And in the Epstein file, was there that creepy birthday message that Donald Trump had written to Epstein?
No, that's what I was trying to tell you. You raise a great point. The estate of Jeffrey Epstein has a voluminous amount of information that they have not released before.
Okay, so that's great. So Wouldn't it be great if FBI subpoenaed the estate of Jeffrey Epstein for all that information?
The estate is under no obligation to provide that material, even pursuant to a subpoena. That's a great point.
Yeah, that's just false.
Okay.
That's just false. You're the frickin' FBI. You can subpoena the information from the estate, and you better do that. I'd like to move
literally
on.
not how it works.
I'm going to move on now and talk about Epstein's client list. You confirmed that it exists. Attorney General Pam Bondi confirmed earlier this year that it exists. So I just want to ask you a simple question. Is Prince Andrew on Epstein's client list?
The material related to Prince Andrew has been made public.
Is Prince Andrew on the client list?
We have released the index of names
All right,
that were in Jeffrey Epstein's.
Is Donald Trump on Epstein's client list?
The index has been released, and the index will speak for
So I'm
itself.
just going to say, America, there's a huge red flag. The FBI director could not answer
Gentlemen.
whether Donald Trump was on Epstein's
Gentleman's time
client
has
list.
expired.
I
Chair
yield
now
back.
recognizes the gentleman from Virginia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank the director for being here and for his.
The FBI searched Epstein's Manhattan mansion. News reports at the time were filled with shocking details about what agents discovered in 2019. Among those details was the claim that a safe had been cracked open, revealing explicit photographs. That detail wasn't whispered in fringe blogs, it was published in mainstream outlets like the New York Times. So why, years later, is there still uncertainty about what was inside? Why did Patel respond as if he didn't have the catalog of evidence at hand, even though the raid itself was national news? That's the first thread Congressman Ted Lieu began to pull. Lieu reminded Patel of what the public had already been told: the safe contained photographs, some of them indecent. Patel's response was to neither confirm nor deny, instead saying, "I'll accept your representation." That kind of phrasing may sound careful and legalistic, but to the public it sounds evasive. If the FBI already seized these items, why can't its director state plainly what was or wasn't there? The tension was already building in that room, but it exploded when a new piece of testimony was introduced. Enter Michael Wolff, an author who had conducted numerous interviews with Epstein. According to Wolff, Epstein once personally opened that same safe, pulled out Polaroid photos, and laid them out like playing cards. The images Wolff described were of powerful figures with young girls in compromising positions. He didn't claim these were rumors, he said Epstein showed them to him directly. That description adds a deeply unsettling layer to what was already reported. Because if an author is saying he was personally shown photos, that's shocking. The obvious question becomes, did investigators ever follow up? Was Wolff ever interviewed? Were his tapes and notes ever subpoenaed? Lieu put those questions directly to Patel. Did the FBI speak to Wolff? Had they subpoenaed his recordings of Epstein? Patel's answers boiled down to variations of "I don't know," again not a denial, but not confirmation either. For viewers watching at home, this is the moment oversight starts to matter. Because oversight isn't about proving guilt or innocence in a single exchange, it's about exposing when the most powerful law enforcement agency in the world doesn't have clear answers about something it should. Patel tried to shield himself with two defenses. First, that he had reviewed only what the investigators handed him. Second, that Epstein's estate controls some materials and the FBI cannot simply demand them. But both defenses raised red flags. If investigators chose what the director could review, that means even the top official might not have the full picture. And if the estate is sitting on materials, why hasn't the FBI used every tool at its disposal, including subpoenas, to compel production? Lieu hammered this point home with a powerful example. Remember the creepy birthday message from Epstein's estate? It didn't come out until years later, when a newspaper disclosed it, after which the estate suddenly provided it to Congress. If that kind of evidence could stay hidden for so long, what else is locked away? Patel's insistence that the estate is under no obligation to comply simply doesn't square with the FBI's immense legal powers. If it's true, the public deserves to see the court rulings that bar subpoenas. If it's not, then the Bureau is choosing not to act. That tension only sharpened when the questioning turned to the so-called client list. Viewers have heard for years that such a list exists. Former Attorney General Pam Bondi even confirmed it earlier this year. So Lieu asked directly, was a certain royal included? Patel sidestepped. Lieu asked again, what about a former president? Again Patel refused to give a clear answer, instead pointing vaguely to an index of names that had supposedly been released. But if the index truly contained everything, why not answer directly? Dodging only deepened suspicion. This is where oversight becomes more than political theater. It's about the gap between what leaders say they will do when they're out of power versus what they actually deliver once they're in the chair. Patel, before taking this role, publicly declared he would release Epstein's files and ensure nothing was hidden. But in this hearing, when faced with simple yes or no questions, his answers were clouded in legalistic hedging and evasions. That's not transparency, it's opacity dressed up in official language. Lieu's method is worth paying attention to. He didn't grandstand, he didn't shout wild accusations. He asked narrow, fact-based questions. Was there a safe? Was there explicit material in it? Has the FBI interviewed Wolf? Did the Bureau subpoena his tapes? Is there a client list? Each question was precise, and each answer revealed more about what the FBI director wasn't willing to say than about what he could. That's how congressional oversight is supposed to work, by exposing the cracks between public promises and the reality of official action. But beyond the performance of this hearing lies a deeper issue. What does transparency actually mean in practice? Patel and others often say they've released what they can legally release. That sounds reasonable, until you realize the public rarely sees the legal orders or justifications that supposedly block further disclosures. If certain files are sealed by a judge, show the order. If releasing photos would harm victims, provide redacted summaries. If subpoenas were attempted and denied, publish the filings. Transparency doesn't mean dumping raw files, it means showing the process, the inventories, and the motions so the public can judge whether officials are truly trying to release as much as possible. That's why Lieu's questioning about the estate matters. Saying the estate doesn't have to comply is a way of shutting down the discussion. But transparency demands proof. Show the court orders, show the legal limits, show the motions you've filed. Otherwise, the claim feels like a convenient excuse. And that's where the Wall Street Journal example of the birthday note looms so large. It proves new material can still surface years after Epstein's death. Voluntary disclosures are no substitute for aggressive legal action when the public interest is this high. So what should happen next? If Congress is serious about accountability, here are the steps. Demand a categorized inventory of every single piece of evidence seized from Epstein's properties, files, photos, tapes, computers, ledgers. That inventory should note what's been released, what remains sealed, and the specific legal basis for each seal. Request all motions the FBI and DOJ have filed to unseal or redact material, and track how courts responded. Ask directly whether subpoenas were issued to Epstein's estate, and if not, demand an explanation. Require redacted versions of FBI witness summaries to be released, showing the public whether investigators followed up on leads implicating other people. And insist that any release plan be survivor-centered, with independent advocates guiding redactions so that disclosures inform the public without re-traumatizing victims. This isn't about satisfying online speculation. It's about ensuring that when leaders promise transparency, they follow up with concrete steps the public can see and evaluate. It's about preventing the memory of powerful predators from being buried under vague claims of legal limits. It's about showing survivors and the public that justice is not selective, and that even the most powerful connections don't protect you from scrutiny. When Ted Lieu pressed Patel, he wasn't just asking about a safe or a list, he was asking a deeper question: can the most powerful law enforcement agency in America be trusted to show the full truth? The evasions and hedges we saw suggest the answer is still in doubt. That's why oversight hearings matter. That's why public pressure matters. And that's why every new disclosure, every court filing, every index released must be demanded and examined. The story of Epstein's files isn't over. Documents are still sealed, the estate still holds materials. Journalists and authors still claim they saw or recorded things the public hasn't been shown. Each of those threads deserves to be pulled, because the truth doesn't come out by accident. It comes out when the public refuses to accept evasions and insists on real accountability. If you care about justice, if you care about victims, if you care about restoring trust in institutions, then this is the moment to act. Raise your voice. Ask your representatives to demand the inventories, the court orders, and the motions that show whether the FBI has truly done everything in its power to pursue the truth. Don't settle for vague claims. Don't accept excuses about what can't be done. Demand proof, demand records, demand action. This isn't just about one hearing or one director, it's about whether the public can believe promises made in the name of justice. It's about whether survivors see their voices respected or erased, and it's about whether accountability still exists for those who think their power can bury the truth. So if you want to see oversight done right, if you want deeper breakdowns of how Congress can compel action and how secrecy can be pierced, make sure you don't miss what comes next. Watch, share, and subscribe, because the only way to keep pressure on the system is to stay informed and stay engaged. And here we'll continue digging into the stories others want you to forget. Hit that like button, subscribe for more, and together let's push for the transparency and justice this case still desperately demands.